Hello, this is AYMB. Anyway, time for another new boss battle, and this time we're beating up Dolphy. So that'll be amazing. Anyway, with that said, I noticed that over 80% of you guys haven't subscribed yet. So if you're enjoying my content, be sure to not only like the video, but subscribe to my channel. And click on the notification bell icon for any of my future videos. Anyway, on to the intro.
Changing who I am, I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life and I won't look back ever again.
And now it's time to beat up Dolphy in all his puffy pinkness. Anyway, I'll be playing Ichiji for a lot of this. In terms of good characters, really any attacker would be great, since, you know, this boss battle is just beating up Dolphy, so as much attack power as possible. Oninami's good, Lucci's good, Garp's good, Izo's also good. Really, just anyone who's a decent attacker. But anyway, just wailing on Dolphy, as you can see. We'll also get some allies. The only thing that I really don't like about this boss battle is it seems a little bit too easy. While Dolphy does do a special attack, you could just dodge it. Honestly, it's incredibly hard to dodge, in my opinion at least, but other than that, yeah, okay, he's about to use his special attack right now. But I don't even think he'll get to activate it, because when the town turns, like, I don't know if it's like just all white or his strings, but yeah, that's when he uses his attack. Oh, wait a minute, no, he already did it. Whoops, sorry. Worst announcer ever. And I think he can confuse you. I don't remember what attack he uses that can confuse you, but yeah. But he's almost dead. Honestly, I don't know if you get more points if you KO his clone first. But I'd just say focus on Dolphy, you know. If you have time to take out the clone, go ahead, but for me personally, I just take out the original OG, you know. I got MVP, which will be quite often in this video, as I do say so myself. By the way, be sure to subscribe. Sorry, shameless plug. Anyway, on to the next one. Oh, Kaku is very good here. Akainu as well, and Dolphy. But Kaku, oh yes, his breakdancing. Oh my goodness, his breakdancing. I had already talked about him in the other boss battle with Kaido and Big Mom, so I'm not gonna really mention him here, just pointing it out. But with all that said, yeah, this boss battle is pretty easy. Ooh, Zoro. Sorry I got sidetracked, but Zoro, that Dressrosa outfit that he has is like one of my favorite Zoro outfits. He just looks so good in that suit. It kind of reminded me of, which film was it? Strong World, when they were dressed up like that, when they went to go fight Shiki. That's what it reminded me of. Anyway, just another one where we beat up Dolphy without too much trouble, and I'm MVP again. Sorry, this is the last time I'll mention it. But anyway, on to the next one. Junbei's also pretty good, along with Light Zoro. Anyway, just, yeah, Dressrosa Zoro is like best outfit Zoro, in my opinion. But anyway, I have nothing else to really talk about, so I guess I could talk about Dolphy and what I think of him. Keep in mind that I'm not a licensed psychologist, so I'm not gonna be like, let's go into Dolphy's mind and analyze him. Not gonna do that. I'm just gonna give my opinion on him. As far as I'm concerned, Dolphy is a narcissist. In terms of villains, I think he was pretty good. Keep in mind that it's been a while since I've seen Dressrosa. I remember most of what happens, sort of. So also keep that in mind. Anyway, yeah, he's a narcissist if not a manipulator, and a very, very toxic character. In terms of whether I like him or not, he's a decent villain, you know? He's a good villain. But I love how Barto is introduced, at least in this mode. With Barto, he's just sitting around. And then he's like, okay, let's go fight. I like that. Along with Dolphy here. See that animation? It looks like Pirate Warriors 4. But yeah, back to Dolphy. He's not in my top 10 or maybe even my top 20 of One Piece characters. It's just how it is. But in terms of Dolphy himself, the only thing I can really say is I deeply do feel bad for him, you know. I feel bad for his childhood. But I don't think his childhood was the main reason why he became the way he did. Like, granted, I think that trauma really did help, especially when there wasn't anyone to really support him through that, you know, to move on from that experience. But at the same time, you know, he was born and raised in Marijoa, and even at like 7 to 8 years old, after they had left that environment, he was like, where the slaves at, you know? Like, I think there was a scene where he very much said, like, where are my slaves? Like, where are the slaves? But I think that moment just showed how far in Dolphy already was, even as a child. Whether he was born like that or he was created to be like that, I personally think it was a mixture of both, but I do feel bad for him in that regard. But at the same time, it seems like there are just so many factors when it comes to Dolphy that made him who he was, you know? And honestly, how he was treated by the villagers, it really showed. It was one of the most horrifying parts of One Piece. But it was also, oddly enough, one of the most realistic parts. Like, when I think about it, at least, not to really put race into it, but you know, as a black person myself, you know, we were taught about black history. And of course, slavery did happen in the United States. Not gonna sugarcoat it, granted there was slavery basically all over the world as well, but it's the fact that blacks specifically were enslaved in the United States, and now they're citizens just like everyone else in this country, you know? But there's still these issues that have been going on, keeping that in mind. And that's not even to talk about the gender issues that are also in the United States, but not to get too SJW about all that, you know. Just saying that it's there. You know, we have some pro-blacks out there, we have some black people and even some white people out there who make it known that specifically white cisgendered men are the worst people in the world. Like, they're racist, they're sexist, they're all these isms and is. And it's like, I'm sure there are some out there, but there are also some racist black people. There are also some sexist Asians or something, you know? There are a bunch of people on this earth who can be like that. But at the same time, there is this really weird narrative, especially on the radical left, or like liberals, whichever one you want to call it. You know, radical left, radical leftist, whichever one it is. I honestly forgot. But they're usually on the side of, okay, all of these people are bad, you know, if you're white, you know, your ancestors used to enslave black people and you're still oppressors. And I do not agree with that mindset at all. Like I said before, there's a bunch of people on this earth. We shouldn't paint people with the same brush. And I'm sure in history, you've seen stuff like this happen where it's like, if a certain group of people does something, you know, no matter how oppressive, horrifying it is, you know, either the victims themselves or the people who are like friends or family of those victims will go after another group of people for it. But to bring it back to One Piece, we have people like the Celestial Dragons who we know have contributed to what the villagers have went through, what the victims of, what the family members, the loved ones of those villagers had went through. The celestial dragons had enslaved people, and considering what Dolphy has said, they most likely did have slaves. The Don Quixote family, they all most likely did have slaves. Regardless of how nice Homing and his wife are, they did have slaves, they did contribute to this situation, and they likely did cause those villagers to, be so upset in the first place. So we can't really ignore the fact that, yeah, Homing and his family and Don Quixote family in general, they're not really being painted in the same brush, because they have contributed to that pain and suffering. But at the same time, it's no justification for how Corazon and Dolphy was treated. I personally believe that the villagers, while I understand where they were coming from in that aspect of oppression, the aspect of all the trauma and pain that was done to their family members, done to their loved ones, and done to the villagers themselves, because they had to watch those victims suffer. It's like, there was one woman who had said, I think her granddaughter had returned from Marijoa, and she wouldn't speak for days. It's that level of pain and experience that the villagers had to go through, and they explained that to Dolphy and his family, and it's like, when you really look at that scene, at first I didn't even know what to say, because it's like, what else could I say? I'm also of the mind of, obviously Dolphy and Corazon were children, that shouldn't have happened to them at all, and I truly believe that. But at the same time, the fact is that the Don Quixote family did contribute to what, they were still celestial dragons, even if they treated them well, the villagers wouldn't have known that. So in that regard, in the villagers' mind, I can understand them thinking, well, they're celestial dragons too, and they oppressed people, so let's go after them. But what makes me so angry about that moment isn't just how Dolphy and Corazon were treated, simply because of what the celestial dragons in general have been doing. Even after all of that, even after what those kids endured, even after all that the villagers' family had endured, nothing meaningful had really come about doing all of that. Seriously, what meaningful thing really came about doing all of that? The villagers were to vent out all their frustrations and whatnot, but who cares? People are still traumatized. Celestial dragons still can have slaves, and now Corazon and Dolphy are just more traumatized children. Really nothing had come about it, all because the villagers thought, hey, there's a celestial dragon family that got into our village. Let's make them suffer like they made our family suffer. Which again, I understand, but at the same time, what did it really do? And I did watch a YouTuber, her name is Melon T, and I really love her videos on One Piece. She analyzes different characters, different things in One Piece, and she did do a video on Dolphy, so, be sure to check her out. In one of the live streams, she did talk about that scene as well, and she was like, what do you really say to the villagers? And at first, I didn't really know what to say, but the more and more I think about it, the more I have to just tell them, join the Revolutionary Army. I think that's the only thing I tell them. Because honestly, I think the villagers are cowards. Not gonna lie. I truly believe that they were cowards simply because they picked the lowest fruit that they could and thought that would do anything. But really, they had done nothing but try to make themselves feel better about the situation. Sure, I'm sure not everybody in the village could fight, but at the same time, Koala was just a little girl who was enslaved by the celestial dragons, and she became this fairly powerful revolutionary member in her own right. She learned Fishman karate. It goes to show you, you don't really have to come from a privileged background to fight oppressors. It could really be anybody as long as you have the drive to want to fight against your oppressors. Whether it's Otohime or the Revolutionary Army way, which, we know how that's going. They just attacked Marijoa in the anime. But yeah, I would just tell the villagers to join the Revolutionary Army, because while I do, again, I very much understand how they were feeling, but I truly honestly believe that what they had done had no meaning meaning behind it. What would have mattered even more if they had joined the Revolutionary Army and decided to make a difference, instead of putting all of their grudges on one celestial dragon family that they don't even know even oppress people, mistreated people at least. Because we probably know that they had slaves, But yeah, that's all I'm gonna have to say about Dofi and his trauma. But it was so weird because I was in like a Souls live stream a couple days ago, and he was talking about how Dofi created a family, and when I heard the word family, I'm just like, family? I had I didn't even doubt it. I was just like, no, he did not create a family. And yeah, the way that Oda had not even wrote it, but sort of, when you really look at Dofi's quote-unquote family, it really is just the cult, But that's the thing about narcissists. They make you think that you're in a meaningful relationship. They pretend to be nice and kind, and they pretend and make you feel like you're in a family when you're really not. Like, if you've ever worked in a work environment where they claim that, oh, we treat you guys like family, and it turns out that your bosses are pretty toxic. It's like that. Only Dofi's gonna bring some violence into that as well, especially if you try and leave it. Which, whether you leave or not, at the end of the day, you have that choice to leave. So for Dofi to even retaliate because of that, it makes no sense, and it shows just how manipulative and controlling he is. But if you don't think he's a toxic person for that, like, just think how he treated Corazon, his own brother, how he treated his own father, how he treated Law, how he treated anybody in his quote-unquote family. I don't really remember Trouble and how he affected Dofi, so I'm not gonna really mention it here, but yeah, that's all I want to say about that. As you can see, I'm using Whole Cake Island Nami and Izo this time. Izo just got knocked out, so I'm using Whole Cake Island Nami. Despite her being a defender, she is very good for these boss battles, simply because using her first skill and her long-range attacks can help keep up the combos, and she does a fairly good amount of attack. Honestly, I kinda wish we had a One Piece movie where Doffy was a villain again. S-Snake is fairly good, I guess you could say. Then again, I don't know of too many S-Snakes that can do a lot of attack, but hey. I guess I could talk about his design. He looks nice and eccentric. Not what I expected for a villain, so I think Oda did a pretty good job depicting him. Anyway, with that said, that is all of my thoughts on Dolphy. I hope you like it. I like that so much. I like how Koala puts that hat on Sabo. It just shows how close they are. And I really truly do think they're dating now. I mean, they just have to be, you know? But yeah, how was your day? How was your week? How was your weekend going to be? Do you guys have any plans for the weekend? Honestly, for the weekend, I can't wait to just sleep. I've been up late a few too many times this week, and I really need some more sleep. Right, so any channel updates? So I'll be uploading videos Mondays and Wednesdays at least. You know, I've decided on at least Monday and Wednesdays. And then Fridays will usually be just shorts. About like 2 shorts now. Wanted to do 3, but I think 2 will be more than enough for a while. And I'm gonna upload, sometime in the future I'm going to upload more intro shorts as well. So any of the new images you see in the newer intro, I'll make shorts on those as well. As you can see, my poor Nami got knocked out. And I got Izo out. And Izo has been taken out, so I'll just keep up the combo with him. And that's it for the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell icon for any of my future videos. Well, see you soon!
じゃあな